Hey there, folks. Chris McLean, Peak Performance and Transformation Coach, back with another episode of the Peak Performance and Predictable Growth Show, the peak performance show for creative agency founders, owners, and leaders, where we explore the agency journey from the unique perspective of those at the coalface of the industry. My guests help unlock and dissect strategies, tools, and tactics that are working right now to help you deliver better results for your clients and help you grow and scale your business to 6 and 7 figures and beyond. And today, it's my pleasure to welcome on the show Nehal from Ad Pros. They're a Facebook ads agency, education, and coaching company. They're designed to equip entrepreneurs, marketing teams, and media buyers with the tools, education, and resources to scale Facebook advertising campaigns. Nehal, awesome to have you here, mate. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Take two. We sort of we started this conversation a couple of weeks ago, and we had some technical issues. So great to actually see you and have you back on the show. How's everything going your end?
Yeah, things are good. No complaints, man. Absolutely.
Fantastic. So take us into sort of what you do. How did you get started, and sort of why did you get into sort of the Facebook ads arena? What sort of got you started, and why was that the direction that you decided to take?
Yeah, I mean, I started trying to make money when I was like from 14 years old onwards. And so I tried a lot of different things. Most of them successfully failed, as I like to say it. And tried a lot of stuff, nothing really hit. And some of the things that did, work for a bit weren't really sustainable. So eventually when I was in university, I started doing web design. Someone asked to do a website and I said, yes. I had no idea. And it just kind of figured it out. And we did websites basically for like nothing, like very, very cheap, to like $500 to $1,000 to up to $5,000. And then the issue with the website business is it goes up and down a lot unless you're selling consistently, which I was not. And I wanted to do it myself, or figure it out myself, which was also not a good idea. So eventually I did want recurring income. And so that's when I started with content posting, and the algorithm stopped working. Reach started going down, and now reach is like really low. But at that point, it's like, that's when it started. And I knew I needed to switch. And so I started with Facebook ads at that point and bought a course, did it for free, and kind of just went from there.
Cool. So initially you were running Facebook ads for your own business?
No. I mean, it took me a pretty long time to realize, but like I bought the course and I didn't have that much cash. And so I didn't really there's so many different paths of how you can make money with Facebook ads. People were selling t-shirts at that time, and that was the thing.
Right.
But I didn't really have cash to work with, and I wasn't really that creative when it came to t-shirt. It didn't connect for me for some reason. And so what I did was I realized, it took me like 4 months or something to realize that other people have money but don't have time. And so I have an abundance of time, but don't have the money to test. And so I said, hey, I'm learning all this Facebook stuff. Can I implement it for you? And so that's where it started. And then from there, then it kind of got more focused over time. But the first thing I was trying to sell was like a high-end $18,000 leather golf bag on Facebook that I've never ran a Facebook ad campaign. And that's what I was like starting with, which I highly don't recommend. So.
Yeah, just go right in the deep end. Why not?
Yeah.
So I like that you're essentially picking up the tools and self-training, right? You're just educating yourself and working out. Never built a website before, but just decided to work it out. Never ran ads before, decided to just work it out. How did you approach that process? Was that just quite natural for you, just to jump on the tools, and was that quite a natural mindset, just to go, look, I'm just going to figure this out myself?
Yeah, in my head, like there wasn't really an option, and I didn't really create other options. And even when there were others, like I just didn't pursue them. And so when I was doing a handful of things, like that's what I was like doing, like at that moment. And I was committed to it, and wasn't really good at asking for help. But slowly, that changed, and it was mostly just brute force. It was just like, let me just try stuff and figure it out and see what other people are doing. It wasn't very structured or, thought through. So.
Yeah, I mean, that can be a good way to start, right? Brute force is quite a good term for it. Just kind of crack on and give it a shot and see where you get to. You've obviously
Yeah.
now gone through much more of a process, and this is a bit more
Yeah.
systemized now that you've learned. So you're now training others how to do Facebook ads. Is that sort of the position that you're in now? I mean, take us
Yeah.
through
So
how did you make that transition to now you've kind of got this systemized, you've got a process around this now. How do I teach this to others?
Yeah, so we went from like not knowing really that much, or it's just me. Then it was doing Facebook ad campaigns for $250 a month, and then we see a little bit of results, 500, and then 1,000, and eventually I was stuck at 1,000 for a little bit, maybe a year and a half, and then eventually changed the industries I was working in, from like local businesses to webinars and that kind of thing, and was at 2,500 per month in retainer, and then eventually changed that and trying to figure out how to get to 5,000 per month. And e-commerce allowed us to do that. And then something clicked, when we're testing all this stuff and being obsessive about scaling and changing our mindset. And that allowed us, thankfully now we have clients that are paying 20,000 plus per month. And so really from doing stuff for free to 250 and just kept doubling it. And then now we're on a performance in terms of how much money we're spending as the main way of getting paid. And now it's 20,000. So the main path has been like not getting comfortable at 1,000 a month or 2,500 a month or 5,000, and pushing and figuring out who wants to scale, what are the types of businesses that can scale, and how do we get paid on that retainer in a way that obviously we're hitting numbers that allow us to scale.
So is that specific? Have you found that that's specific niches or specific industries that you're targeting, or is it just it's an income basis? What's that targeting mechanism that you're finding those kinds of companies that can obviously have that level of spend?
Yeah, so most of our clients now, like the mindset is we build $1 million a month revenue in revenue companies, and we do that with for most companies, depending on their business model, et cetera, but it's usually 200,000 to 300,000 a month in spend. Most of that's primarily Facebook at the moment, and the way that we're approaching that is, what is the level of profitability we need in terms of overall in the business? How do we want to look at profitability and acquisition costs on Facebook specifically, and like working the numbers backwards from $1 million a month in revenue plus. And so there's like way more, criteria to that, but basically, is the market big enough? Does the entrepreneur want to actually scale? Like there's a difference between a desire or a dream or an idea to scale versus actual commitment to do whatever it takes to scale. And it's night and day between those two types of personalities, or those two types of people. And so, we're looking at average order values and funnels and business experience and traffic and their account and avatars, like all of that kind of stuff in our process to be able to define if we're able to scale pretty aggressively.
Yeah, I like that you got that classification of you really only want to work with people that have that level of commitment, because that can be that's critical in that client engagement, right? A lot of agencies get stuck with, they kind of get stuck with clients, right? They almost become the victim to their own clients, where they're just onboarding people for the sake of,
because they don't decide.
They just need the money, or they just need a client, so they get them on, but they're uncommitted. They're not ready to do what they actually need to do, whether that's commitment of resources, time, attention. So I love that you've got that as a metric of this is how you decide who you want to work for.
Yeah, and our average order value of what we want our clients to pay in terms from a retainer standpoint, we started again at like super low. I wasn't really thinking about it. Then we're stuck at 1,000, then stuck at 2,500. Right now we're about 13,000 per month. And the goal is like, what does it look like to be at 20 while building out the team and building out the infrastructure in order to handle more clients. And so, the way that we're approaching it now especially is, you can do the business or just the general like management side and performance side of advertising, but what's the business side of the agency in order to hit specific gross margin, targets and percentages, operating income percentages, and, looking at how do you actually design and predict the profitability of our own business for us to be healthy while serving clients. And, recently we fired one of our clients who, even though we took a smaller retainer for initially because we saw a potential in the future, the criteria for what it would look like to pay the full rate didn't happen, and then the numbers kept changing. And so even though they were trying to take a bit of the actual business or the service that we provide and pay less, we just are optimizing for $20,000 a month per client. And so if that doesn't align, then even if the numbers are good and performance is good and everything is good, it just doesn't align to our business. We have to make business decisions.
Yeah, super important. Again, really important that you've got that business lens. Again, all the creatives can come to their creative business, and they've been the creative, right? They've been the developer or the designer, and they're making that transition to business owner and understanding the business logic and understanding that business back end can be a challenge. But it sounds like you got quite a good handle on that. Is that, again, something that you've learned as you've gone along, or did you have some of that business mentality coming into this?
Yeah, even during university, I knew I wanted to run my own businesses, or at least business. And where that's evolving now is, I'm not really a Facebook ads person. Facebook ads is just the environment and the vehicle that I've been doing it in. Where I actually excel is overall growth strategy, business strategy, and actual coaching of the people in the organization. I feel I can add a lot of value there. And now, pre-COVID, we were at about 6 people. Right now, we're at about 20 people, and we're increasing capacity to basically double in the next year and a half, 2 years, if assuming how things go. And we're just building out more pods and our support structure so that we can bring on more clients and see how we can scale the business. Because in the past, my focus has been how do I increase average order value and keep a number of clients. And that's the reason that stemmed, or that I went in that direction, is because the responsibility of scale and families on the people who are working in the company, as well as of our clients, as well as breakage that happens. It was just a fear-based decision. And so I'm making the commitment to grow that out and put the right people in place in order for them to perform and support the company in a completely different way.
Yeah, nice. That you got that. You can see that you can sort of step back and do what you're great at and sort of run the business and be more of the business face. And you found a mechanism and a channel that works really well for you to, give your staff, give people that are working for you that opportunity to do what they do best as well. So do you employ locally? Do you have on-ground team? Are you fully remote? What's the makeup of your team?
Yeah, part of it happened very organically, but we're in about 6 or 7 different countries, and people came kind of all over the place. And I live in Medellin, Colombia, and so just being in South America, and we have people in Canada and the U.S. and in other countries as well. And the challenge has been, how do we manage that, and what does success look like to have different people involved? And because of my standards and the standards of our team, we can see how well someone's going to work in the organization pretty quickly. And we have a very independent culture as well, where we're optimizing and we're getting compensated a salary plus bonus, and bonus is based off of performance. If the company is a performance-based organization, so should be the salaries. And I didn't do that for a long time. I think that was a mistake. And so the way that we have it set up is the salaries of the people can be 150 to 150% of their base salary as bonuses. And so that obviously entices people to step up and do it that way. And all the core people who have a bonus structure have the same metric as each other. So if one person does something where there's a breakthrough in the campaign, other people benefit as well. And so, everyone has the same goal, which is how do we spend more money? The business has the same goal as how do we spend more money? And we're a scaling agency, so we're sharing that same goal with the client, and we want to scale businesses. There are different agencies who do more ROAS protection or optimizing profitability, and that's great. I think that's a different cycle for most businesses that are in that season of their business. For us, we're working with people who want to aggressively scale and then slow down. When they slow down, they won't need us anymore. So that has been a big part of having everyone on the same objective. We have different ways to look at, scale and profitability and how much we're spending for clients overall of our portfolio as well as per client. And so it just creates a lot of alignment and like clarity on, are you doing a good job? You'll know before I know, basically.
Yeah, I love that. So when are you upstaffing based on number of clients, based on spend, just based on general requirement? How do you sort of make that decision as what we need a new person? You're looking at maybe it's a new market. We need somebody in certain markets or somebody to service a different market, whether they're based there or not. So what's the decision matrix, I guess, in deciding I need somebody? Is that financial? Is that just on workload?
So we're more so building our foundation at the moment in order to allow that growth to happen. So what that means for us is we're expanding into additional traffic sources. So we've been focused on Facebook and Instagram, and I've been very against any other traffic source because it's very difficult to be really, really good at multiple traffic sources. Usually there's agencies really good at one. Again, it's possible, but it requires a lot of diligence and a lot of work, a lot of testing, and very aggressive mentality to be relentless. And so we're doing that now. And we're doing that for YouTube. We're doing that for Snapchat. So we just got started with Snapchat. In about a month and a half, basically, we are managing about 120,000 a month just for one client. And so we have to we get thrown in environments that are high pressure and high growth. And so it allows us to fail a lot quicker as well. And so we're doing additional channels. So that's one new person we're looking to bring on specifically for that. We have another person we're bringing on just to support the Facebook side. And then the main hire right now is operations manager to streamline a lot of the operations and get KPIs and scorecards and job roles cleared out so that we can build additional pods. That's the goal. And for us, a pod will be an account manager, senior media buyer, junior media buyer in order for them to execute as a unit and then use other business units in our departments in our business from creatives, copy, tech, any kind of consulting or support that we have internally in order to support clients. So right now, it's not a systematic growth. It's more so let's just make sure that we have a little bit more capacity so we're able to breathe and operate, get the operations person, and then go from there.
Awesome. Sounds like you got a solid plan. So what's the overall goal and growth strategy for 2021 and then sort of moving forward? Are you planning on, as you said, you sort of moved into Snapchat? Are you sort of looking at is it a regional approach? Is it more a platform approach, looking at maybe things like TikTok, or is it really just coming depending what the clients need? And you sort of say you might find a client that wants to move to Twitter or something, so you need to work out how to make Twitter ads.
Yeah, no, not like that. The focus is Snapchat and TikTok ads are very similar. And so that's one relative channel. And then there is YouTube and search on Google. And so that's roughly one channel. And so we're not going to go beyond that at the moment. There's email marketing I want to do and CRO, conversion rate optimization stuff, but that's just biting off way more than I'd like to. And it's operational disaster. And so the way we're approaching it right now is I'm pursuing leverage. That's the real goal here. And so, we can keep increasing our average order value and work with clients and curate them further. But the challenge with that will eventually be the returns of my time and the team's time will be marginal instead of exponential. And so what I'm looking at is how do we do that from a revenue standpoint as well as margin standpoint in the business. And we're exploring different ways to do that at the moment.
Yeah, a really solid plan. And what's the dream? What's the dream agency? 5 years, 10 years? Are you in this for life? Do you feel like this is something that you want to continue to do? Do you have maybe an exit in mind at some point? Is there a side hustle, something else that you're super interested in?
Yeah, I don't believe in side hustles. So I want one thing that is the core thing. And The way that I'm looking at this right now is, especially with COVID happened, like I wanted to do a bunch of stuff, and I just made a decision. I'm going to go all in on stuff that I do know, and that's the agency, or like Ad Pros as a whole. There are different ways that we can actually have all the content and education and coaching lead into the agency. But the real thing that my longer term vision is, I want to be really good at three things, which is how to get equity into companies and buy sell companies, like basically equity acquisition, team acquisition of building and curating a high performing team. I'm not a great manager, so I'm more so on the design and support side, but not day-to-day management. That's not a skill of mine. And then the actual growth strategy and customer acquisition strategy for high growth businesses. So those are the places where I'm looking at leverage right now, which is equity in the team and customer acquisition. And so those are my long-term commitments. And so when I made that commitment recently, with that, a lot of the fears and insecurities and challenges and doubts you have kind of disappear, because if that's the direction I'm going, like I'm going to deal with them anyways. And so that's like really what I'm working on at the moment. And a lot of the hangups I had, because I was looking at such short term, like a month to a quarter instead of years or 5 years or 25 years, which I'm looking at now. Those are, no matter what channel I'm in, what niche I'm serving or businesses I'm operating in, those are skills that compound and can be leveraged.
Yeah, I love that idea. When you've got that kind of North Star, right, it kind of creates that decision. It's easier to make decisions, say, am I on track? Am I off track? Yeah. And say the day to day, the month to month becomes just fixing as you go to make sure that you're still aligned to that big vision. It's super important to have that sort of 3-5 year goal. Amazing stuff. Sounds like you got a fascinating time ahead. If people want to find out more about you, or connect with you, or sort of work out how you can help them, what's the best place for them to get in touch? Got a couple of things up on screen, but where's the best place for them to find out about you?
Yeah, adpros.com, Nehal at adpros.com. If you want to do email, or it's very easy to find me on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. So very easy to find me. The main thing is, from an agency standpoint, we have a creative service for agencies and brands. So it's adpros.com/creatives. And content and ads are a massive part of what we're seeing. So we built out that service. But yeah, if I can help in the agency process or just give any feedback, happy to connect.
Amazing. Thank you for your time. And for agency people out there that want help with that side of things, check out adpros.com/creatives up on the screen there. And on audio for those that are not watching, that are listening. Really appreciate your time. I'm glad we got to have this chat. Really, really good stuff. I appreciate this sort of thing coming from the business perspective and sort of bringing that to the agency world and growth models and your plans. It sounds like really exciting stuff. And really appreciate your time. Appreciate you dropping some value.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Pleasure. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Connect with Nehal. And thanks for dropping in and tuning into the show again. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. See you then.